Hello. So now we're going to go through how to navigate the sales function in MYOB. The sales function in MYOB is very important because this is where we can track all the invoices that we send, and this is where we can see whether those invoices have been paid or are still unpaid. A lot of people I see using MYOB use the banking arrow receive money function when they're receiving money from their invoices and trying to do manual invoices. The thing with manual invoices is that you won't be able to monitor all the invoices that you send and whether they are paid or unpaid. So if you look at the command center under the sales functions, you can see easily available shortcuts for aging receivables, customers, and creating a customer file. This is the reason why I didn't go through customers initially. I wanted to show you how to create a customer card. When we say card in MYOB, those are customers, suppliers, personal contacts, and employees. We'll go through each of those later. When we're trying to create an invoice, it's very important that we first have the right details and information for all our customers because that information will reflect on the invoices. So when you click here, Create a Customer, it will bring you to the card information screen. As much as possible, put as much detail as you can in the card information because we want to use MYOB as our single source of truth. If we need any information, that information should be available in MYOB. For example, let's try to create a customer. The card type we're using, if we're invoicing, is customer. We can identify whether we want a company or an individual. In this case, let's make Sulong Lab the name of the company with the address 14M Way, Sunbury, Victoria 304, country Australia. Let's put in their phone number for easy reference and say sulonglab@gmail.com, add salutations and your contact person. Other functions here that you also need to update are card details, selling details. When you enter selling details, you can choose whether you want a service layout, an item layout, professional, time, and billing. Later on, I'll show you why. There are also printed forms and other information that you can add so that it automatically puts all these details when you're invoicing this specific card. For payment method, let's say, for example, it's cash. This is important because if it's cash here, as you would remember from the linked accounts, if this is set to cash, then it will automatically use a general ledger code connected to cash. Under contact logs and jobs and history, the contact logs feature means that when you're creating an invoice, you can automatically send the invoice through the email address of the person from MYOB, and you can also contact that specific person using MYOB. It logs all the contacts and all the things that you did with this specific card. Once you have the card information in MYOB, you can click on New Sales. If you have information on the invoice, you can create sales in here. As I told you earlier, you can actually change the layout of this to fit whatever you need. So, for example, if you're invoicing a service, then this is the general layout for a service. If you're doing an item, it will actually change how it looks. If you choose professional, it will change the fields that you need to fill in. Same with miscellaneous and time and billing. That is the layout for each of the functions in your sales. Let's try to do one sale. As you can see, it already populates the information for where the item or the service should be shipped. And the invoice number here is automatically updated by MYOB based on the sequence of your invoices. You can enter the description, the account number, the amount, and the job. Let's put test 1 here. The account code here normally is an income account because that is a sale. So let's say 50 general and then the tax code. If you need to put different information, such as who the salesperson is or any comment that you want to add, you can easily add a comment here so that you don't have to type the same comment every time. It will be shown here. You can just click that comment. The journal memo here is the memo that will show on your report. So you can put Sales Sulong Lab, but you can also edit this journal memo so that when it shows in your report, it's actually more understandable than just showing the name of the company and sale. You can put more information in here. If you want the referral source, if you want to identify where the referral came from or where this person actually found you, you can create a report based on the data that you gather. That's also available. You can also see here the subtotal, the tax amount, the total tax amount, and the payment method to be used. In this case, we don't actually use cost centers, but if you need to monitor which cost center a transaction belongs to, you can actually add a cost center here. You can also attach documents to this invoice. If you attach documents to this invoice, when you send the invoice to that person's email address, it will actually show information relative to the attachment that you added. Let's try uploading one document here, and then let's try to send this invoice to the person. You can click Send to Email. It will be recorded before it's emailed because MYOB cannot email something that's not recorded in its platform. So the name salonglab to salonglab@gmail.com, subject with the attachments. You can see that the attachment is what we attached in MYOB earlier. You can also choose what form the invoice will show. Let's try to send this and see if we receive this invoice and how the invoice will look. Also in MYOB, after you create an invoice, you then have other options. As you can see, there are lines here. The lines actually show the process that a standard organization normally takes. From sales register, you go to entering sales, receiving money, printing invoice, and then looking at your transaction journal. Or you can go from sales, then print or email the invoices, then send invoice reminders, and then go back to receive payments, print receipts, and transaction journals. Now we have received the invoice that we created earlier. When you open the file, you can actually see the name of the organization, the amount due, and you can see at the very bottom the attachment that we attached in MYOB. It's really important that we provide as many attachments as we can so that it's easier for the customer to accept the invoice and it helps the process. Instead of them asking you to send attachments, it's already included. You can also click here if you want to view the invoice, and the invoice will look like this. It's based on your forms. We'll go through forms later in MYOB. For now, I'll see you again in another video.